Good morning, listeners and viewers. It's Chris and Nick here with another episode of Coaching Conversations on a bright and fresh and sunny Monday morning. Nick, how are you this morning?
You know what? I'm with you. It's bright and fresh, and there's not a cloud in the sky outside. So,
Did it rain in Sydney on the weekend?
no, it was a bit. How you going on
Saturday.
And yesterday was a bit cloudy, but when I went out, the sun came out.
Oh, sun shined on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
It's funny. My friends go every time that we go on a picnic, dude, and you organise it. It's sunny, no matter what.
You got to put the word in advance.
I put the word in advance. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't do it day of. Doesn't
And
work.
I got a smile on my face because I was barbecuing meats yesterday. So
yes, happy places.
Good, happy place.
Good. Well, let's get into the first question because it's around time. And obviously you manage your time well on the weekend, prioritizing, cooking of meat and that sort of stuff. So, which is good, obviously prioritizing family. But during the week, obviously you're heavily present on places like LinkedIn, across social media. We do this podcast every week. Plus, I know that you write emails on the back end. We are secretly, but not secretly, working on a book at the moment. So that's something for the listeners and viewers out there. You manage your time very well. Obviously, you manage to get all this stuff. And plus, you have multitude of calls and sessions throughout the weeks too. So what's your best tip or best trick around managing your time? Because I know that you are just as busy as every other business owner out there. So, what are your tips and tricks around that?
It's interesting. I mean, that's a great question. I don't think we manage time. Here's how I think we are as humans in time. It's like we're on a life raft, right, or a raft heading down a river, and there's all of these different options that you can take. And if you take one option, it's kind of cool, and you make it through kind of to the next section. And if you don't, you're in the water. Remember when we did whitewater rafting, right, as a team?
Yes.
If you backpedal too much or you front pedal too much, or you can. And it feels a bit
the right way
with time. Have you ever noticed? Like you think that you've got a plan, but then something else, like something else kind of changes or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
There's all of these things that kind of happen.
Yeah. So the water is kind of like time. Like it's never going to stop. It doesn't stop.
The water's like time. It's always
water just consistently flows. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to get hardcore we can go Einstein's theory that the past, the present, and future are all happening at one hit. But
we've only got 20 minutes
for a Monday morning after barbecued meats in my head. I'm still thinking that yummy pork.
You're still digesting, right?
I'm still digesting. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think about it like this. So that it's always in flow. Now, here's what I've organised. There's depending on what you do and what your job role is, I think would be really, really important. Now, a lot of people go, Nick, I have to do everything. Counts, sales, marketing, manage stuff.
Deliver the goods.
Deliver the goods, do all of that stuff. But I'm like, well, you don't really have to do everything. You can. There's other people that can help you today. You just have to make that choice whether you want to do all of it or you want to do some of it. Now, for me, I try not to do all of it, but I do some of it really well. And for me, my day is broken up kind of into a few areas. Number one, obviously, is working on the business. How's the team going, performing, working with you, talking about stuff, talking with the team, managing, all of that stuff. Number two is delivering me, Nick coach hat on, so working with clients.
Yep.
Obviously. And number three is sales. And up till recently, my calendar kind of looked like, there was a coaching session, then some sales and some other stuff, right? And what I did now is, depending on what my job role is, now I've sectioned it. So I said anything 12 o'clock and up is all clients. Clients. So, and I don't work Mondays because I work on the business on Mondays.
Great.
And Friday half day, I try to take half day, right?
Good.
Now, in saying that, I could work 24 hours like everybody else can. And unfortunately, with these things called computers and laptops, you can take them wherever you want, whenever you want, and work till 2 o'clock in the morning, which I've done that many a time too, right? So I said to myself, well, okay, how do I squeeze 5 days worth of stuff into 3.5 days, to be brutally honest? And how do I keep up with the 15 odd clients that I coach, plus then sales? So then in the afternoon from 12 till 7 or 8, those 3 days, because I'm happy to do long hours, 12, 15, 16-hour days, I'm down with that, right? I go, okay, well, how do I squeeze that into, from 7 a.m. in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, give or take? Now, so, and then everything in the afternoon is all sales related. And now why do I did that? Because also sales, you don't want to reach out to businesses early in the morning. They're busy, usually after work, especially for our type of niche in the trade and construction. After 3, I could probably get you.
Yep.
So it makes more logical sense to work like that. And then what I did is I said, well, what's the most important part? So remember, the river's always flowing. You're on the raft. You've got to try to go, well, where do I, position myself to be cool? So I said, there's some important things that I need to fit in. Lucky now with, the martial arts that I do, starts at 7:15. So I'm not booking any sessions in after that. And I can go 5 days a week, but we said, me and my son and my mate will do 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7:15 till 9:15. So that's blocked in.
2 hours, really? Wow.
2 hours each session, which is good, right? And then I said, well, I need to get the gym in the morning. So usually from 6 till 7-ish, I'm blocked in that, right? And, I'm doing a new program and all of that stuff. So the reason I say this is a lot of people don't manage their time effectively. They go, I've got all of this time. And it's not true you've got all of this time because you still got to eat, you still got to, lunch. And so what I've done is I've kind of segmented those parts in with meditation, think me time or I time, work time, family time. And if you segment those already by getting them down, now you go, I've only got a limited chunk. So how do I become efficient? And this is the most important part. When you're on a raft, yourself, if you take one particular tack, you can be efficient and sort of slide through the rocks and kind of go down. You're all right. Or you can take the wrong one, boom, over the rock, you're in the water. There's all this water pouring in there. There's all of these different outcomes depending on how you maneuver. Because you can never try to put your force against a rapid. It's impossible. Like doesn't matter how strong you are, what type of boat
you can't go back up the river. It's not
You're not going back up the river, right? And you think that you control it, you don't, you're the guest on top of it. And it's the same as time. We don't control it. We're the guest on top of it. So if I think to go, all right, I can do this, and then I need to be flexible. Something happens and, I don't know, a client absolutely needs to talk to me at 8 o'clock at night on the Tuesday. Well, it's okay. Well, I can train other nights. It's not going to be detrimental that, oh, God, but there's some non-negotiables that I try to do, and let's say if Friday afternoon I want to spend time with the wife or the kids or whatever it may be, I try not to book a client in there. But if I absolutely need to have to, and that's what it is, and it's going to lead to a sale and we can help people, well, guess what? You need to be option B. On a river, it's all about option Bs too, right? So that's kind of how I segment it. Yeah.
Right. So it's about prioritizing what needs to be done. And you said at the beginning, you've kind of got those 3 areas, and then, really getting your calendar tight, putting those priority-based items in the right areas. But then also, the good point at the end there, being fluid. Because that's something that I probably struggle with is, having that fluidity to go, that's okay. We'll just have to shift things till later on in the day or do it tomorrow, whatever it is. But being fluid, because you're right, when you're on the raft going down the river, you got to literally work with the ebbs and flows of what the river's doing, whether it's just been raining or not raining, or if you hit a rock that you haven't seen, you got to really start being able to prepare yourself for what might be coming in front of you.
100%. Because, with time, isn't it like that? Something unexpected happened. Something came out. Something didn't go according to plan.
Yes.
That opportunity that you thought was going to be in on that time didn't happen that way. That client went over. The truck that was supposed to deliver your stuff so you could get the job out didn't show up. It's all of this stuff, isn't it? Like it's called life. The baby was supposed to come and be born at 10, but it, waited till 2 in the morning.
Yes.
We often think that it's going to be, kind of cool, but we can manage as best as we can. The key here is not to be so static that you can't move around on it if you want to think about it like that.
Right.
You need to be able to shift and adapt and, all of these type of things. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, cool. Yeah, completely. And hopefully it makes sense I'm pretty sure it makes sense for everyone out there as well, which is good. So moving on to that next bullet point, next topic that we wanted to break down today. If you're running a business right now in Australia, yes, right now, Melbourne's still in lockdown at the moment. People are probably working really hard on their businesses. Some businesses are growing. Some businesses might be stagnating. What should we be focusing on right now?
Yeah, that's
to focus on right now.
I think there's a few things, and this is all about perspective, okay?
Right.
We're blessed that we've not only not taken a hit in COVID, actually, it's the other way around for us. We've
Yes.
been ultra busy, and that's a good
But
thing.
we'll put in the work too. Like
And we've put in the work. Correct. I mean, we changed our model well before COVID. And so one of the things I think that you've got to really, really consider, number one, depending on where you look at it, what sort of thought process you need to have. For me, it's never been about batten down the hatches. And you've worked with me for a long time. It's actually been about how do we push forward as hard as we can. So we can either pull away from the competition or at least be that competitor that everybody else is trying to catch up to. Right. And that's always been from mindset for me, get out there and get some, that's kind of how I think about it. Right.
Yeah.
And I think about it from two things. Number one, I can help people. And number two, hey, it's good to, make sure we've got money to pay wages and do everything else with that. Right. So, but usually the helping people part is more so than that. So let's start from a perspective, depending on your perspective. Now, if you're somebody in Melbourne, you've got a business that's associated with, the lockdown, which is a lot of businesses today, or you're in tourism or any of that type of stuff. I mean, restaurants, are really taking the hit.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to think a different perspective. So I'd be thinking, how do we really lean out what we do? It's funny, I was just at Felix restaurant, it's my favorite restaurant, and I was there and I noticed on the menu that they had less items on the menu. And when you get there, it's half the volume of people are able to be seated. I mean, It's a big, beautiful restaurant. So, and I was talking to the maitre d', and he goes, yeah, well, you can see we've been busy, but it's half the volume. I mean, they're turning people over quicker, but, it's that. And I noticed on the menu that there was less. And, I mean, you've been in this industry, Chris, so the less things on the menu, the less prep, the less food storage, the less people, the less all of these things. So I'm figuring that they're doing it for a reason, right? I mean, they're not skimping on, the waiters or any of that type of stuff, but every man counts, right? And I mean, Justin Ems has been pretty cool. He said, we're never going to let anybody off. Everyone's going to still have a job. And but they're prepared, right? So I think, depending on what you do is number one, run the ship lean. If you can do it, run lean. Number two, what you definitely should be focusing on is a new model, because things aren't what they used to be. They're never going to be the way they used to be.
Yes.
It's not like, we're going to come December and COVID's done. It's around. It's how we manage it. But now everybody's still going to have the pump. You're still going to be thinking the stupid shit in the news. Still going to go, my God, COVID. And everybody's still going to be fearful at some level to go and sit in a restaurant. Because this is what's going on. Even my local, there's a Vietnamese place on me, backed. And now it's like, go there. I'm like, did you just open? No, we've been open. I'm like, it's 20%. Wow. Tables empty. And you've been to that. Where tables empty, right? So in saying that, do you see the model needs to be different? And he closed for about 3 months for renos, a whole bunch of other stuff. Then COVID hit, so he's closed, and now he's reopened again. And it's just not the same atmosphere. And why do I say the new model? Because restaurants as we know it, I don't think are going to be like restaurants as we knew it.
Yes.
And things are different today. My friend, that's a professional musician, plays for one of the biggest bands ever, and I asked him, dude, what's it go? He goes, Nick, I haven't worked since last November. And I'm like, when are the gigs? And he's based in the US.
Whoa.
And these guys pack out stadiums, 20,000, 30,000, right? And I'm like, dude, what's the go? He goes, dude, nothing till next July. It's scary, right? This is how he makes his living, playing music. So I said, dude, you need to change your model. I said, it's either that or you're going to go, stack shelves or do stuff online for Amazon. And this guy's never, ever had any other job, ever. That's his thing. He's a pro muser. Now, in saying that, I said, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to change a model where you can do masterclasses online, because there's a lot of people now sitting at home wanting to learn an instrument. Yeah. I get it. It feels a bit below his pay grade of, he's one of the top guys in the world. However, you could also do masterclasses for people that are really good, or maybe you want to break into the, top echelon of touring companies. I mean, he's done more touring than most people got hair in their head. He's been on more stadiums and football stadiums than most musicians around the world. So when you see, when all it is just an adaptation, I said, if you maybe think about the shifting of model, I said you could do masterclasses for 10 or 1,000 people, depending on what it is. And guess what? That could supplement your income. So if you're making 3 or 4 grand a week, that's what you were doing, whatever he makes on stage. I said you could still do it, still playing the instrument, still loving it, but now you're talking about it from a different perspective until such time that things get better and hopefully they'll be back on stage. So shifting the model is really important. And I think those two should be the central focus. And the last one really is keeping your head occupied. Keep head occupied. It's going to play tricks on you like you wouldn't believe. I mean, for me, in the next 3 months and 4 months is I really wanted to step up my game health-wise. And I don't know what it was. I just thought about it. I'm like, I'm really going to push hard for December. And I've got a goal, in January next year, I want to go to Queensland. We're going with 6 or 7 families. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be in the sun, enjoying it.
So you want to look tight by the pool.
I want to look tight, right? And I'm not looking fat, but there's a couple of round edges that we're going to sharpen up. Yeah. So it gives me the opportunity. So started Krav Maga, started training. At the gym, eating well. All of these things are really important because it keeps my mind in the game, and we're going to push hard. And our business goals, that already. So we're on to it as well. So these are 3 things.
Okay, so you mentioned, and this kind of ties into this third bullet point question that we've got here, which is, I'll jump off the changing the model around. So let's look forward 12 to 24 months for business in general. And say they're working on, okay, cool, you've said, Nick, that I need to focus on mindset and obviously looking at shifting the way that I'm doing things. How do you plan ahead for the next 12 months from here? Is it based, it would be hard to work on sales volume because we're kind of living in a different environment now. So is it just stick to the goals you originally had, or is it about maybe I should really be spending the next 12 months looking at model adaptation or just growing a customer base with a new product? Like what's the plan for the future for businesses?
Great point. I mean, look, we got to be head stuck in the sand if we don't think that there's going to be some economic downturn. We have to. I mean, it's $200 to $250 billion debt in Australia already, and it's only going to get more. The world is trillions. I just heard from somebody I was talking to yesterday in Lebanon, 55% unemployment.
What?
55%.
55%?
Yeah, 1 in 2 people are not working.
Holy moly.
To have a coffee and a snack where it used to be $3, now it's 25 US. The economy is collapsing.
Wow.
From the blast that just happened, 300,000 people homeless, one hit overnight. So this is a disaster of unparalleled proportion.
Yes.
When we think like that globally, there's going to be a change. However, people still need to eat. We still need to do stuff. We still need to consume. We still humans are like that, right? So I'm not saying I don't buy into the doom and gloom. I buy into whoever's really intelligent now and pushes forward and looks at the model and goes, how do I need to adapt? What do we need to do? We'll win. It's the same as us. We used to be purely focused on touring. That's where our income came.
Live events, yes.
Live events. But what we did a year and a half ago, well before COVID, is we said it's time to change. Why? I had a semi-catastrophic event that happened to me health-wise. And I said, all right, it's time for us to adapt. But I was already on that game because it wasn't working. So I think number one is you need to see what are the signs right now. What are they telling you? If you own a restaurant, it's pretty simple. Like if things aren't going to get as good as what they were, which I doubt they are, it makes sense that you do 2 things. Number one, either you need to get out. Number 2, you need to figure out a way to reinvent it. Maybe it's more takeaway based. Or number 3, it's adaptability. If the restaurant can't be full all the time, can you have, layers? Come in at 6, leave it at 8, come in at 8, leave it at 10, come in at 10, leave it, So multi-layer it. So you really need to be thinking about how I'm planning for it. You cannot go back and go, that's just the way it is. Think about it. With us, if we were just live events only, there's no live events happening. Those things aren't going to happen till next whenever, And the indicator will be when they allow concerts again is when this is going to happen. Even if it's a live event, you're not going to be sitting next to somebody. It's
No.
going to be half the capacities, all these things that are affecting your livelihood at the end of the day.
Mm.
We were talking about this the other day. I think with humans, what's really, really, really important is we need to change and adapt. Interesting fact, less than 100 years ago, all of us were associated with something in agriculture. All of us on the planet with agriculture. Today, there's, some people that can tie your shoelace. That's their job. Whatever, there's so many different things. So adaptability is important. And I saw an interesting post yesterday that said 3 things that are not going to be here in the next 20 years. Number 1, agriculture and farming. Robotics will look after all of that. No problem. Number 2, I think it was either something along the way as fast food is done. It'll be done kind of differently. And number 3, transport as we know it, because electric cars and self-automated, so driving, that's what it is. Like, when a hire car picks you up or a taxi, it's all over. 20 years, all over. Because GPS will bring the car to you, it's empty.
Yep, and they're working on that now. So
they've been working on it the last 10 years. Right? So once again, you plan for the future by understanding what's going on now and adapting to that.
Got it.
Number 2, I believe that you really need to set some type of flag in the ground from a set point of view to go, what is it that we want to achieve and what's the plan B to this? Because, we didn't wake up in February and go, guess what? Everyone knows COVID's coming.
Yeah. Contingency planning, right.
Contingency planning. We've got to figure it out, right? So I think having contingency planning is really, really important. And number 3, I think the future of how you think as a business is to go, what am I really after in the business? Is it world domination? Is it millions and millions and millions or billions or whatever it is, hundreds of millions, depending on what your business is? Or the word I'm looking for is priorities. What are the real priorities here?
Yeah.
Is it an accumulation of money and wealth, or is it, hey, I really want to be happy now? Right. I can change my stuff and still have the both of them. There's no rule that says you can't have it. It's interesting. I was talking to one of my mates, Tony Hayek, that owns a company called Blue Wealth, which Chris. And he was saying they just released a project in Melbourne. Funny enough, and the whole thing in coronavirus, and they've sold 90%, and they did it in like 3 weeks. All sold.
Wow.
Done. And I asked a friend of mine yesterday at this barbecue that they're a pretty decent sized developer, $250 million developer. And I asked her, I'm like, what's the story? She goes, funny enough, she goes, they've got, they're in the ground already, so they're building stuff. And I said, why is it, do you think that people are absolutely going for this, even in uncertain times? She said, well, something that's bricks and mortar is certainty. So people would rather invest into that than putting their money in the bank where you don't know what happens. She was talking about with Lebanon, the government basically goes, you can only take out $200 a day out of your account. That's it. Because I don't want people to withdraw their money and flee Lebanon because it's going to collapse even more. Could you imagine the government goes, hey, you got all this money, you can't use it. Inflation, 55% unemployed, inflation is through the roof, but you can only use $200 a day and that's it. So nobody's going to put money in your account.
No.
I mean, do you see? So people are gravitating towards other sure investments. So you as a business owner need to go, what is it that I really want? What's going to be the new world, so to speak? And maybe greed isn't good anymore. Maybe it's not about the money. Or if it is, go for it. Like if that's your thing, and you can pull away. I mean, think about it. If you had, masks for sale or, I don't know, those things, to take the temperature and all of those things today, you would have sold more today than you've ever done.
Yeah. Hand sanitizer companies.
Yeah. But if you owned a catering company with an airline, you're about to have a bad day. So can you retool? We were talking about that. Can you adapt, how this is done?
Yeah. So it's looking at that bigger picture. What are you using your business for? What's the ultimate end goal or outcome for the business? How are you managing to adapt now to get to where you need to go? Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And we were talking about this the other day, right? Like it's what is the real reason for your business?
Yes. Yeah. And I actually had a conversation with a client about this the other day too. So interesting topic. Maybe we should drill into this on the next episode.
Yeah, it's funny. I saw a presentation of a guy on Facebook, the coach's coach, one of these type of guys. And,
Mm-hmm.
he was talking about, well, if you're at $1 million and you want to go to 5 million, great achievement at the million. And if you're a solo operator, one or two people at $1 million with 75% plus profit, as an example, you'd really have to ask yourself, do you want to go to the next thing and put a big
That's
team together
right. That's
and do
right.
all of that stuff, or just be happy with 750 grand in your pocket?
100%. Yeah.
You
Because
can
I
buy a
always
lot of
say,
property
like,
with
yeah,
750 grand in your
if you
pocket.
want to go to $5 million, there's still $5 million worth of headaches that comes with it. It's not
Well, I mean, it's good
a
if you
jump.
could then exponentially expand that profitability and
Yes.
still be at 5 million at 75. But you've just got to go, well, what's the time, energy, and effort versus what the reward is, and that
Yeah.
today I think has really come in with COVID. What is it that we really want to get? And for me, it's really opened my eyes to be able to spend more time with the family, spend more time doing the stuff that I like to do, and obviously still making money. So I'm down with that, But it's not all about the money.
Mm.
It really isn't.
Yeah.
Because
So
when it all fades away, it's family that's left, right?
that's right. What's more important to
Or
you
friends.
as a person? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that I'm going to leave that with that'll be the final words for this episode. What is your bigger picture? If you're watching this, listening to this, thinking, yeah, what is it? Why am I chasing this? Why did I start this business? And what's the eventual outcome here? That's what we should be looking at. And then kind of maybe reverse engineering or adapting your model to get to that goal.
Life is short, mate.
Life is short. Remember that. Very good. Thank you so much for your time again, Nick.
No problem.
And we'll see you all again here on another episode of Coaching Conversations very soon. Bye now.
Ciao for now.